I now want to welcome in Republican Congressman Rick Crawford. He is the chairman of the House Intel Committee, a member of the Gang of Eight. Congressman, thanks for coming on camera with us this morning. You just came from a briefing with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and also the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane, all on this strike on Iran this past weekend. What can you tell us that they shared with you this morning? Because last time we talked with you, this was right before the leak came out from the DIA report, that early assessment.
Yeah, so I thought this was a very good, informative briefing. Maybe one of the best whole House briefings I've ever seen since I've been in Congress, and that's been a few years now. So, we've had these briefings from time to time, and a lot of times they're not much more than what you might see on the news. But this was a very fulsome presentation. All four of those presenters, I thought, did a fantastic job and took a lot of questions, and they were very good, in-depth questions. And so I think most people left there pretty satisfied with the presentation.
We're hearing the Senate got briefed yesterday, and there are people like Senator Murphy are casting doubt on some of what was shared with them, ultimately saying that they believe that the White House was deliberately misleading them. What would you say to some of those Democratic senators who are casting doubt on this?
Well, I think they need to take the politics out of it. The reality is that the president exercised a brilliant strategic maneuver to bring Iran back to the table. And I think what he did effectively was end the war between Iran and Israel, brought Iran back to the table, and now we have a real path to peace in the Middle East. So, credit where credit's due. You don't have to like President Trump to really understand and applaud the effort here and really what this effort yielded.
Chairman Crawford, yesterday we heard from House Speaker Mike Johnson. He suggested that he believed that it was actually a member of Congress who leaked that DIA report out to the media. And then President Trump put on Truth Social that he believed that it was a Democrat. Do you have intelligence to say that it was a member of Congress who leaked out that early assessment?
No, I couldn't comment on that. I don't have any information that substantiates that, but we are taking every precaution that we can, proactive measures to make sure that we're retaining in appropriate spaces any classified information that we receive, and that all our personnel have been sort of rebriefed on the appropriate handling of classified materials and so on. So we're taking every proactive measure we can so that we can show the president that we are indeed trustworthy, and we need that information. And, we're his eyes and ears in the oversight capacity, and so it's important that we have that. I think he understands that. It's on us to show him that we're trustworthy, and we're doing everything we can to make that case.
We know that the White House has now confirmed that they are limiting intelligence sharing on CapNet, where Congress receives some of its intelligence information from. Your Democratic counterpart, Ranking Member Himes, how is he responding to this news and the briefing that he had this morning? Can you tell us how the Democrats are responding?
Yeah, I think, Ranking Member Himes has been very vocal in condemning leaks. I think we can all agree on that it's damaging to the people who serve us. And so we are, as I said, taking proactive measures. The CapNet issue, I think it's important to note that that's a privilege, not a right. And so what we want to do is demonstrate to the White House that, hey, we respect that as a privilege, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that we instill that sense of trust so that the president understands how important it is to us. But again, it's not a right, it's a privilege, and we have to demonstrate that we're worthy of that.
Well, we spoke to you earlier in the week. You had suggested that Iran would likely move some of their enriched uranium, knowing that their facilities were a target. The White House saying yesterday the president has confidence that nothing was actually moved. Have you seen intelligence to confirm that?
Well, I couldn't comment on what was shared today, but I will say that, I feel a lot better about that. As I said before, when you and I talked before, it obviously would be common sense to expect that they would attempt to move material if they thought an attack was imminent. Just like if you thought, if you were sitting on a bunch of gold bars and you had information that someone was going to come rob you, you would probably move your gold bars. That just makes sense. Doesn't necessarily mean that they were able to achieve that. And if the president is communicating that he's satisfied, then I'm satisfied.
We're still waiting, and last time we spoke to you, you said it could be days, weeks, or months before we would have another assessment from the intelligence community. Can you give us a timeline on when we should be expecting another assessment to come out, or a comprehensive assessment from the administration or the intel community?
I think we will start to see information flow on the daily. I mean, this is a pretty fluid situation and more access as time goes by. And so we'll start to see more multi-source information. I can't comment on the granularity of that information, but I think it's just reasonable to expect that over time we would get more and better information.
You know, we had also talked last time about human source intelligence, when we actually have a human source that's confirming the damage that was done there on the ground. Can you confirm that there is a human source that you know of at the time?
I can't confirm that, but I would say that that's a really important part of our total intelligence picture. And so that certainly would add a more fulsome view to what's taken place there.
From where you were last week when we talked to just coming out of this briefing, what questions are still remaining in your mind about the validity, not the validity, but about the veracity of these strikes, and how far set back Iran's nuclear program is?
I think it's probably still an open question about how long. I mean, you know, the old saying, you can cut down an oak tree in 5 minutes, but it takes years to grow it back. It just depends on how big you want that oak tree to get to make that determination. So are the Iranians willing or trying to reconstitute their program? I don't know. I can't comment on that with any specificity, but I do know, and I think this is important to note, that this move brought them back to the table, and they are in direct conversation now with the United States. That has a fantastic effect. I mean, this is exactly what we were hoping for, was an escalation to de-escalate, so to speak, and that's what has taken place. And so with the Iranians back at the table now, we have a much greater chance of peace in the Middle East.
And we are in direct conversations with Iran at this point, you're confirming?
I believe that's correct, and that's something that I've advocated for and the president has engaged in, and he's done a really good job making the case for why it's important to engage directly, because if we're using intermediaries like the Qataris or the Turks or any other nationality that might think that they're in a position to broker a deal, what happens more times than not is that you're going to get a deal like the JCPOA, which did not serve us well at all. It was violated by the Iranians, and so I think it serves us better to just go ahead and directly engage with them, and I think the Secretary has indicated that, and that's ultimately our goal.
Let me ask you this on the home front, on the intelligence side. There have been escalation concerns from the Department of Homeland Security, specifically in light of the July 4th holiday this coming week. What are you hearing from that front, and how Americans should be responding to concerns about potential strikes from Iran or sleeper groups that may already be here in the U.S.?
So I can say a couple of things with certainty. We don't know what we don't know, but we also do know that the previous administration left the border essentially unguarded and allowed who knows who to actually infiltrate our border. Could that be terror cells? Quite possibly, yes. Any engagements that we have directly with the Iranians doesn't necessarily mean that proxies or terror cells are part of that conversation. We don't even know that Iranians are capable of handling those proxies or terror cells. And so there may be retaliation from some of these people extraneous to what's taking place between the United States and Iran with regard to direct engagement. So we need to be hyper-vigilant here at home and recognize that situational awareness is necessary. The threat may be heightened, and particularly as we approach Independence Day, you know, there may be some opportunities or be seen as opportunities for terror cells to take action. If it doesn't feel right, let someone know. Don't go. Don't put yourself in a position to be vulnerable. Keep your eyes and ears open, keep your head on a swivel, and I think everything will be fine.
You know, we did hear from FBI Director Kris Gutierrez, it was about a year ago now, where he said he saw flashing red lights everywhere because of concerns about potential attack on the homeland, people inspired by October 7th, and because of the open border. Does the FBI feel confident and Homeland Security that they have been able to extract people, or is there still a large concern about who is left here?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of the FBI or Department of Homeland Security, but I can say that certainly they are very tuned in to this threat. And I think, you know, the kinds of things that we've seen over the last couple of years, the anti-Semitic rhetoric, the hostilities exhibited at universities around the country and various cities, that's just part and parcel of the kind of stuff that we may see with the upcoming holiday, and this may throw a little fuel on the fire, which sort of requires us to be a little more diligent and paying a little closer attention. And I can guarantee you that the FBI and Homeland Security are on it.
All right. Well, Congressman Rick Crawford, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, we really appreciate your time just coming out of that intelligence briefing there from the House. I hope to check back in with you as you do learn more intelligence. Obviously, so many people interested in this strike against Iran, they're calling the U.S. the big Satan. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it this morning, sir.
You bet. Thank you.